Welcome back to Careers at the End of the World. I am your host, Jenn Walker Wall, and I'm coming fresh off of yesterday's live webinar of how to job search at the end of the world. And I just want to take a moment and thank everyone who joined me live. There were nearly 100 of you who signed up for the webinar, so I know some of you are watching that replay. I really appreciate the emails and the DMs. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate your time and attention, and above all else, I really appreciate your trust. I know these are high stakes parts of your life that you're trusting with me and with our team. And please know that I do not take that for granted. Today's topic is about survival strategies for a long job search. A job search that takes longer than you think it will, longer than you want it to. And it's really inspired in part by yesterday's content and yesterday's conversation. If you missed our live webinar, but you would still like to catch the replay, please check out the show notes for this week's episode. We'll put it on the website and we'll make it accessible for you. And we want you to check that out because I think it's really helpful content. I got really positive feedback yesterday, and we want people to be able to implement and refresh their job search process. You might have noticed it's a tough market out there for a lot of people. And while a lot of the tactics that we've been using for the last decade are working, a lot of times I'm finding that the search process is still taking longer for a lot of our clients. And let me just give you a brief example of what I shared as an anecdote yesterday, which is last week I had not one, not two, but 3 clients in 5th and 6th round interviews. And to put that in perspective, having done this job for 10 years, I don't think I've ever had one client in a 6th round interview. So to have 3 in search processes that were that long, right, is remarkable. I could use other words. I'll leave it at remarkable. And so even if you generate an offer after 5 or 6 rounds, we're basically doubling the length of most hiring processes, right? When I say lasting longer, I don't even mean that, I don't mean at all that you won't be successful or there's no chance for success or that, we're in despair mode over here. Not at all. It's just, you want to be aware of what's happening. The whole search process has gotten lengthier. And so that means if you do get the job, it's longer. And if you don't get the job, you're engaged in these processes that are quite lengthy. We don't sugarcoat things over here. We want people to be prepared, and we want people to have the information to manage their own expectations. Because if I've learned anything in the last decade of doing this job, it's that managing your expectations and your emotions in this process is 90% of the battle. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have been it's 50% of the battle. But these days it's everything, because it is lasting longer. So you need to sustain yourself for a longer period of time, right? And if you're between jobs or you're in a miserable job, that's not easy. It's not always easy, right? If you missed the webinar and you would like to watch the replay, check out the show notes of this week's episode. We will link to a place where it can live on our website. We're working on that right now, so I won't read an address out loud to you. I used our traditional framework for job seekers and talked about what we're seeing right now and what we're changing or experimenting with to help clients get more or better traction in a competitive market. So please check that out. I'm offering these survival strategies for job searches and career transitions that are lasting longer than you expected. And I just want to say that when these things last longer than people expect, they're not necessarily lasting longer than I expect as a professional in the field, watching this work happen day in and day out for years on end. I know that these transitions take time. I know there's all kinds of reasons that impede people's ability to move through these life changes in a speedy manner. Some of those have to do with the people themselves. Some of them don't have to do with the people themselves. There are a lot of challenges in this process, and right now in a competitive market, a lot of those challenges are magnified. I'm sure I'm not surprising anyone by saying that. The first survival strategy that I want to extend to you, that I want to offer you, this may not be the right time to implement it. Think about this next time. It might not apply to you this round. But for those of you who haven't started your job search yet, who are on the precipice, who are thinking about the future, I want to invite you to start before you're ready. I've said this for many years, and this applies in all kinds of markets. It's not just when things are tough and competitive. There's a lot of potential roadblocks here, many on the personal front. And so starting before you're ready, starting when you still have energy after work and work doesn't leave you feeling completely depleted or resentful or angry, it allows you to enter into the process with a lot more momentum. And of course, that's what we want our clients to have, is to be able to do this work without urgency, without panic. Now, if you are already engaged and you've got some urgency, that's okay. This can still work for you. We've seen urgent job seekers still land jobs. But if you are not sure about whether to start, please start. Please start sooner than you think you need to, because it can and will take longer than you want, and you will run into obstacles that you didn't anticipate. Starting before you're ready is a way to build resilience into your job search. And that's what we want for people. The second piece of advice I have around survival strategies here is to make a budget. When I'm talking to people who want to make transitions, who anticipate some kind of change in salary in the short or long term, it's really interesting to me how many people don't know their budget, don't have a budget. I'm a budgeter. Maybe it's because I'm self-employed and I had to quit my job with lots of student loans and I need that structure. But having a budget has helped me create so much freedom and flexibility in my life. I really want to encourage people who may want to explore careers that aren't as high paying or lucrative, or that you may want to take a break between jobs to do this exploration work. Make sure you budget for that. I'm going to link to YNAB, which is You Need a Budget. There's a learning curve. I've been championing YNAB for years. Like, I've been using this since I left my full-time job, and I was probably using it for a year or two before I left my full-time job. So it's like almost 7 years, 6 or 7 years. It's so helpful to me. It makes me feel so in control. Even on the hardest months, I'm like, okay, I get it. I have a good picture of everything. So please know your budget. If you don't know your budget, your own personal expenses and financial goals, like I'm not talking about like a bare minimum, what you need for your basic expenses. Like, you can build out a full budget that includes things like vacations. Knowing those numbers will help you figure out how much flexibility you have. And having flexibility will mean that you will have choices as you navigate your career transition, right? And that's what we want for people. So if you are someone who does not have a budget, does not have financial goals, does not, kind of just like money in, money out, and you want to either start a job search, consider roles that might be less high paying, or, you anticipate there's layoffs in your industry, definitely work with a budget. I really can't stress that enough. I don't like being constrained or feeling constrained in any way, but I always think of the budget as being something that helps me figure out how not to have a job. And so this can also mean how not to have a really high paying job, right? How to have a job that's more aligned with what you want values wise, or how to survive a period of time without a full-time income, right? So anyways, I'm a champion of the budget, if you can't tell. So please check out YNAB. Somewhat relatedly, but I'll make it distinct here, is I want you, if you are laid off, I want you to immediately file for unemployment. Immediately. Do not wait. Well, wait until you're eligible, but please do it as quickly as possible. I have seen shenanigans. I'm in Massachusetts. I know not everyone has great unemployment. I have clients in states where it feels like it's not even worth applying for. That's your choice to make. If you really don't need it, don't want it, by all means. If you are expecting unemployment to help manage your budget and expenses while you are looking for your next job, please file really, really quickly. I have seen clients who already had unemployment in their name, right? Like someone fraudulently filed using their name and social security code. I have seen clients surprised to learn that their employer was not actually paying into unemployment in their state. So I think it's really important, if that source of funding is important to you, please file right away. Also relatedly, I guess I just put all the money stuff together because the money stuff has been really prominent lately. For the last 10 years, I have really tried to help people be choosy, be selective, know what you want, aim for what you want. And what does that look like in a market where job searching is taking longer, where wages feel like they're being stifled? I think that one piece of this puzzle here is having some kind of bridge job. Okay, so beyond filing for unemployment, having a bridge job means interim income. Okay, so whether that looks like contracting, whether that looks like self-employment, freelancing, or part-time work, I think that these opportunities help financially. Obviously, they provide some money. I've seen people not have to burn through severance. I've seen people not have to burn through savings, not have to dip into retirement. Like those things are important. But also from my perspective as a career and job search strategist, like I like it when my clients don't have 40 hours a week to think about the job search process, quite frankly. I like it when there's more structure to their day that they don't have to provide. I like it when they have to be productive in smaller pockets of time. Asking people to do the work of making a career transition or job search for 40 hours a week is it's as useful as the one-page resume. If you are not willing to accept just any job, then there's really no reason for you to spend 40 hours a week applying to jobs that you have no intention of pursuing with any seriousness. Now, if you are really flexible, you're willing to relocate, you can spend more time. That's fine. But taking a bridge job means that the immediate need of income is satiated, or at least the money, the money, there's some money coming in, there's still money going out. Maybe there's more money going out than coming in, but I've heard people say it slows the bleed essentially. Having a bridge job is one way to continue to be selective and choosy. Some people feel like I'm failing, I'm slowing down my job search, now I don't have all this time to spend. And people have to look at their own situation and make their own decisions about what matters and how they want to spend their time, for sure. So this is not necessarily blanket advice, but from what I see, for people who do need to think about their finances, who are nervous, let's just say, being out of work, taking a bridge job, having income coming in, having some structure to your work week allows you to continue your actual job search and maintain some selectivity in the process. Some people are going to be in a season of this is my time. It's a semi-sabbatical. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not in a hurry. I've got the resources. And that's amazing. I've seen some really generous severance packages. So I hope that's the case for you if you are between jobs. But I also think that taking a bridge job is a beautiful way to support yourself so that you can continue to make decisions from a less panicked place, an unpanicked place perhaps, right? It buys you some time. It gives you some runway. And I think you should do what supports you. If it allows you to honor your goals in the long term while providing financial support for you in the short term, as well as social support, because you won't be isolating yourself, presumably you'll be interacting with people that you're working with, you'll get some structure to your week. Like I said, I think that is a beautiful thing. Relatedly, you might consider taking less than a perfect job. That might sound like I'm contradicting myself. In some ways, I think a less than perfect job is a bridge job. It's just like a full-time bridge job. I've also seen people pursue temp to perm opportunities just because I think because the market feels so unstable in some spaces that a 6-month contract feels just as reliable as a full-time job offer. And I can really appreciate that, to be honest. It's okay And in fact, it's normal, even in the best of times, for a career transition to take more than one literal career move. And so if having a job in the interim meets a significant portion of your goals, if it allows you to be exposed to new opportunities or new environments, new skills, or if it allows you to sustain yourself financially, it's okay to have a job and wait the market out a little bit or continue your job search. So you get to decide. These are all levers you can pull. Nobody needs to pull them all. I want you to think about what really matters. And if supporting yourself in these ways is what really matters, there's nothing stopping you from continuing to pursue your long-term goals while you accept a new job. I also just want to say, in defense of less than perfect jobs, this might also sound silly coming from someone who talks so much about alignment. Sometimes less than perfect jobs really surprise us in the best possible ways. When I look back on my own career, it's the jobs that I couldn't wait to start. It's the jobs that I was absolutely sure would change my life in the best way that were the biggest disappointments. They changed my life. Look at me now, I'm a full-time career coach. So that's not what I was looking for. I mean, it's great. It worked out fine, but it took a lot of recovery from those experiences to be able to make good use of them. And now I full-time spend my life trying to prevent other people from making similar mistakes. It's the jobs that I took that I was kind of ambivalent about that turned out to be the absolute best opportunities that really did like reorient me in my career and allow me to heal and recover. One job let me go to grad school while I worked there. Another job like actually finally paid me money after a career in the nonprofit world. That changed my life. If I think I'll hate a job, I will hate the job. I'm an Aries, so like hate and anger is a very clarifying emotion for me. Maybe you don't feel that way. That's okay. I'm just sharing my personal thought on this. If I'm ambivalent about it, it will probably be better than I think. And if I have staked everything I have in my life on this job being the job, it will disappoint me. I've just learned to tune into those patterns because when I put everything on, I'm not even going to say dream job because I don't even believe that construct exists. But I guess there was a part of my career where I did believe that. Anytime I've landed that job's almost ruined my life. Okay. But ambivalence has been a really good indicator. And I think that's because I've just gone in there like, this is a job. And the fact that it occasionally turned out to be a place where people treated me well and I had great friends and colleagues. And actually I was able to make money and move up or do cool things. It exceeded expectations in a way that dream jobs have never come close to doing. So when I say take a less than perfect job, what I'm really saying is it might be better than you think. It might be a very good job. It might be a great experience. It might change your life for the better. Something that I think is really important for people in transition right now is energetic hygiene. We are not just people navigating life and career transitions. We're navigating them in a rapidly changing world, rapidly changing country, right? We're in a constant state of things changing. And that is so stressful. I think that really is stressful on all of us. I was sitting at my desk yesterday after the webinar. I had a great day working with clients and giving the webinar. Like I was in a great mood, but I happened to check Twitter. I'm never going to call it X. It's just going to be Twitter. So I know what I'm supposed to call it. It's not happening. And I was so distraught watching my feed after this great day where I really felt like, oh, my work mattered today. Oh, I interacted with great people. I actually landed new clients yesterday. Like good things happened. I ended my day on Twitter, doom scrolling. And I was just filled with despair and anger and disgust and frustration. You know, things I've felt a lot in the last few years. And as I felt myself sort of like about to kind of give into that and just like let it ruin the rest of my night, I remembered I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to like sit and marinate in this energy. And I have my little you can't see, you can't hear me doing this, but I have my little magician tarot card sitting on my desk altar. And it reminded me like, okay, I've got to do something with this energy. And I spent some time with my tarot cards and I went for a walk in the evening, and that's like what I needed to move through the moment. It didn't really fundamentally change how I felt about what's going on college campuses right now as a former higher ed professional, but it allowed me to move through the moment. And that's the sort of energetic hygiene that I have been having to do for myself lately. And doesn't just come from the news. I wish it just came from the news. It doesn't. I'm interacting with a lot of people going through hard times. We're all going through our own stuff. And so like I have really had to take so much intentional time and energy to manage my own energy. So if you see me over here with crystals and sprays, that's why. And I really think we all need to tune into not only like what we're experiencing and how we're feeling about things and the ebbs and flows of this transition process that we're in individually and collectively, but I think it's really helpful to know like when you're picking up energy that doesn't belong to you, really reclaim your energy, because this is a hard enough process. And if someone in your network didn't email you back, or you have a not so great interview, that stuff can really drag you down longer than I think it deserves to. I try to spend so much time these days doing what makes sense for me. Sometimes that looks like journaling. Sometimes it looks like getting out of my house. Sometimes it looks like opening the windows. Sometimes it looks like using crystals. Sometimes I have boundary spray and I use that on my workspace all the time. Sometimes it looks like talking to a friend. Sometimes it looks like recommitting to something after I lost some momentum. It looks like working with the moon cycles. It looks like working with the days of the week. Like it just has been a constant thing that I've had to tend to. And I have noticed how other people either are also tending to that or would probably greatly benefit from tending to that. What do you need to stay committed? What do you need to stay engaged? And I don't think that means, when I say committed and consistent and engaged, I don't mean every day doing something, but like, what are you doing with your week to move your goals forward? And more importantly, what are you doing every week to take care of yourself so that you can move your goals forward? To me, I've had to really pay attention to like the origins of like what is, life affirming, what is energy giving. I think a word someone used in our community is what is generative, right? And so I can't take that energy for granted. I have to cultivate it. I have to tend to it. I have to protect it. And I don't know anyone in the job search career transition space who wouldn't benefit from some practice like that. It can be whatever works for you. I'm not here to tell you what you should do, except that you should pay attention to what is giving you that energy so that you can do your best work, not just in the job search, but in life, right? 2 other survival strategies that I want to share. I'm going to share and discuss them together, even though they may overlap, but I think they're also in a very valid way distinct, which is to get professional support and to get social support. That might mean working with a career strategist or a resume writer, but it might also mean going to therapy. It might mean getting a massage or doing like whatever is going to help you keep going, be strategic and intentional with your change process. That's what I mean. Bringing an expert in, someone who can take the load off, someone who can steer you in the right direction, who can help you be physically and mentally well enough to do this job. If you are applying for jobs, you want to make sure that your resume is doing its job for you. If you are doing something hard, you want to make sure that you have people on your side, right? That can steer you, that can refresh you. I don't know why this metaphor, like I'm always thinking about cars and oil changes. Like I think so many people, especially like I'll speak for myself as a helping professional in the career space, people tend to come when things are catastrophic or bad, But what I feel and observe in my work is that I'm actually most useful making sure people do maintenance, like basic maintenance. Yes, having the resume is hugely impactful, but once you have that, you need to sustain yourself, right? And so I think it's very, very important that you have the support you need to do that. That's why we have office hours in our community. That's why we do rapid reviews and people submit them. Even when I've been working with people for a while, every once in a while they'll submit for a rapid review because they're changing direction or they're headed somewhere else. And so it's that sort of like ongoing support that if you don't do the ongoing maintenance, like what if you just don't brush your teeth between dentist appointments? Like it's not great. Like the dentist appointment would be much more fruitful if you did the maintenance work between sessions. So if you're not familiar with the Job Search Club, I will link to that below. We're going to be changing it up in the next few weeks, but we're letting people enroll through May 7th. So you'll have a very short window of time from the time this podcast gets published to actually join us. But I want to let you know that it is open for enrollment when this gets published. I want you to really not think about doing this alone. I want you to not think about doing this in isolation. The second piece of this is I want you to have some social support, especially for people who are between jobs or are just in jobs where like it's the opposite of social support. Being in a space, even like yesterday's webinar, being in a space with other people who share your goals, share your values, want you to succeed is it is generative. One of my favorite things about being in a job search community space is I'm only one piece of the puzzle. There have been times where I've gotten off the call. I was like, you don't need me anymore. I'm going to wrap it up for the night, but y'all keep talking because this is important and you're helping each other. Or people are meeting outside of regular office hours to help one another or to do accountability work or just engage socially. You can create your own accountability group. You can check in with friends, but it's very easy to become isolated in this process. And I want to invite you to engage with people who want to support you, who want to help you, who want to take you out for coffee or get out of the house with you because they recognize that what you're doing is hard. It makes a world of difference. And it's part of what allows us to do that energizing work, right? To refresh that energy, to fill up the tank, not to be constantly draining it. It's really, really key. You should DM me on Instagram if you think I missed a survival strategy. If you have a survival strategy that you want to share, please do. Please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to share what's working for you with our listeners and our community members. I'm going to drop some links, a link to the webinar replay, a link to the Job Search Club. You can always find a link to our services there. So please check those out. Please reach out if we can be helpful. I love hearing from people who found us via the podcast. It just makes me happy. As always, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.